Welcome to NEPA Sports Extra. I'm Dave Rosenkrantz. Thanks for joining us. This week, we will recap the District 2 Diving Championships and recap and look forward to regional wrestling and super regional wrestling with local wrestling expert Frank Kastreva. But first, I want to take some time and thank everyone for the amount of support given over the last week since we've gone live and launched everything. It's been a great experience so far, and we can't wait for what's coming ahead. We have a lot of goals in mind. We want to get this really big, and the amount of support that we've received over the last week has been phenomenal. Keep it coming. I know we're a little behind on some. Then we need some catching up to do, but we'll get there. Sit tight. We'll get once we get all the kinks taken care of, we'll be in contact with everyone. So thanks again. Now, the last year has been hard on everyone, to say the least. I'm not going to touch on that a whole lot, but over the last several weeks, I've been in contact with a lot of sports people who are sports fans, whether it be on the local level, state level, national level, whatever. And in talking to everyone, one thing always kind of comes up is, when will we be able to see stadiums, arenas at full capacity again? I know a lot of the time, a lot of places right now, you're starting to see fans come back. NASCAR races, spring training games, the Super Bowl, on the local level, district wrestling. But in talking to people, we're kind of curious, when will we be able to see 40, 50,000 people at a baseball game, 60,000 at a football game, 20,000 at state wrestling, 10,000 at a state championship football game? I'm not a person who is someone good to come to for this, because whenever I go to a sporting event, whether I'm working with my family, with my friends, whatever, I like my space. I'm always sitting 2 seats away from someone. If I go with my friends, I'm sitting as far away as I possibly can so they can still hear me. I like leg room. I like my space. I like a place to put down my drink, my snack, whatever. So I'm always looking for space, and I'm not the right person to ask this, because if you ask me, I'm going to say, I hope it stays like this for a long time, because I just don't like being around crowds of people. That's how I am. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like that, but I'm sure there's also a lot of people who like to see 40, 50,000 people at an event when they go. So a question, and I'm going to post this on the Facebook page and our Twitter, and I want to get your opinions. How long do you think it's going to take before we can see fans at full capacity at sporting events again? Will it be a year from now? Will it be 6 months from now when football season starts? Could it be the Super Bowl, which will be a year from now, basically? Or are we looking at maybe even the start of football season 2022? Or maybe, and hopefully in the summer for baseball and the start of this football season. So we'll post that on the Facebook page as a poll and see what you guys think. And I think I'm probably in the minority, but again, I'm not the best person to come to for this, because, like I said, I love my space, and I could live with it if it was like this all the time. So head over to the Facebook page. That's NEPA Sports with a Z, XTRA, and give us your thoughts on the poll. Supporting local small businesses is more important now than ever before. If you're looking to support one and looking for a great deal on tie-dyes, visit Main Street Tie-Dye. For authentic handcrafted dyes made in Ashley, Pennsylvania, visit them on Facebook. That's Main Street Tie-Dye, 144 South Main Street in Ashley. If you would like to hear your local small business heard on this podcast, reach out to us at NEPA SportzXtra at gmail.com. That's NEPA SportzXtra at gmail.com. And like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at NEPA SportzXtra. The District 2 Diving Championships were held this past weekend at the Wilkes-Barre CYC. Boys AA and AAA, girls AA and AAA were both held. Winning for the boys was Nico Lachase from Tunkhannock, who won the AA gold medal with a score of 335.15. In boys AAA, James Reese from Abington Heights picked up the gold, winning with a score of 354.30. On the girls' side, in AAA, Victoria Watkins from West Scranton won with a score of 413.05. And in the girls' AA event, Mia Reinert from Dallas was the winner with a score of 378.05. These winners automatically are entered into the PIAA Championships, which will look a little different this year, obviously, but it will be held at Cumberland Valley High School in Mechanicsburg this year. Normally, the state swimming championships are held at Bucknell University in Lewisburg. This year, it will be at Cumberland Valley. The diving district winners will be joined at states by the swimming district champions. The winners of each event at districts are automatically entered into the state tournament. And in years past, there have been times when if you have a good time, you'll get an at-large bid, so to speak, to get to the state tournament. This year it's a little different. The additional swimmers will be chosen for states from a pool, which is on a list based on time. So if you have a good time, you get put into a pool of swimmers for each event, and then you will be taken out of that and possibly selected. So we'll see how that goes. The District 2 Swimming Championships will be held on Saturday at Delaware Valley High School. AA competition will start at 11 a.m. and AAA competition will start at 5 p.m. The Dallas girls will start off with a little bit of an advantage here in Class AA when the swimming championships get started because of their performance at the diving championships this past weekend. So when it starts, the Mountaineers will have a 52-point lead already. So they're going to be tough to beat. No doubt. The reason the Mountaineers will have such a big lead is because they had 4 divers in the event, and they were the only competitors for the girls' Class 2A girls meet. So that'll surely be an advantage for Dallas coming up this weekend as they look to claim the District 2 Class 2A swimming championship. Northeast Regional Wrestling was held this past weekend at Williamsport High School and the Charles Schrin Center in the Lehigh Valley, Class AAA. A total of 19 wrestlers from District 2 advanced to the next stage of the postseason, the Super Regional, which is a new event this year to try to cut down on the number of participants. The 19 District 2 wrestlers can say that they have finished in the top 16 in the state because basically they have now. Normally, these wrestlers would be going on to the state tournament. Now they're going on to Super Regionals where there are 8-person brackets. The top 4 from Super Regionals then advance to the state tournament, which will be held the following weekend. at Giant Center in Hershey. Super Regionals this weekend will be held at Pottsville High School for Class 2A and at Quakertown High School in Class 3A. Both of those will be on Saturday. And we'll finish up on Saturday too, in the one-day tournaments. There were 2 regional champions this past weekend, both from Delaware Valley. Zachary Giacaruso at 113 pounds in Class 3A for the Warriors became the first sophomore in school history to win a regional title. His teammate Jason Henderson also won a regional title, bringing home the gold at 215 pounds as he defeated Hazleton area Seth Hunsinger in the regional final. There's a total of 15 AAA wrestlers from District 2 who advanced to the Super Regional. That list also includes a couple of runner-ups in Luke Sirianni from Abington Heights, Austin Fashauer from West Scranton, Hunsinger from Hazleton area, and Cam Butka from West Scranton. In AA, there's a total of 4 wrestlers who have advanced to the Super Regional. No champions, but there are a couple of runner-ups in Wyoming area's Jaden Pepe at 113 pounds, and Lackawanna Trail's Robbie Schneider at 138 pounds. Frank Kastreva has been around the local wrestling community for as long as I can remember, more than 2 decades he's been around. He started a website many years ago, wvcd2.com. That page is no longer active, but he was the founder of that. There is now the Facebook page, WVCD2 Wrestling. He's pretty much done it all. He's done audio broadcasts and Facebook live videos. He's done everything. He knows everything. He's been an assistant coach before. He knows a lot about the sport, and we welcome in Frank Kastreva. All right, Frank, you've been around the wrestling in the area for a long time now, and you were just at the Northeast 2A Regional. Talk about what it was like at the Regional this year compared to other years. I know that it gets packed normally, and it's loud and boisterous, and wasn't any of that there this year.
Oh, well, they didn't allow any fans, so there was, your average media. But, I went in with the assumption, which probably shouldn't assume anything when you go to the regional tournament, because we all know it's a meat grinder. I was assuming that District 2 may succeed a little bit more, being you took that environment out. You usually have a packed gym down there, and of course District 4 has always been better when it comes to the Northeast Regional Tournament. We can't pinpoint exactly why that is, but I thought if you remove that, we might do better, and actually we did pretty poor. So maybe it backfired on us. There was no energy in the gym whatsoever. One of the things that was different that I didn't like is there's no towers anymore, and I realized that scoring towers, just like at districts, now that Flow has their own computer, and there's really no buzzer, so you need another person on the mat making sure, or the mat official has to make sure that So it was a little bit of a different atmosphere. Myself, I'm an old school kind of guy, and I didn't like it, to be honest with you. I think it just took. I'm not saying that there should have been fans. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't know that, but I know for me looking at it, I didn't like the empty gym at all. The wrestling, it was great. It was good wrestling, by many of the wrestlers, but it was a blah feeling. And I'm sure that that wasn't just for me. I'm sure if you ask the coaches, some of the coaches would agree with that too.
Speaking of coaches, you spent some time as a coach as well. When you looked at these kids from District 2 who were wrestling this weekend, I'm not breaking any news when I say that, District 4 is better than District 2. I think that goes without saying. A lot of people say that. But when you look at the competition that District 2 put out there this weekend, the results, I think it's hard. It's easy to say that it was underwhelming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I really wasn't a coach. I was an assistant to the Swingles. So I was getting schooled is what I was getting, because those two guys know wrestling. It was great being an assistant with them. Now getting to but I didn't do too much coaching. I got taught, and that's how I learned more about wrestling. Getting back to your question, yeah, well, there was some surprises. So I don't think we have to dwell. Shouldn't say we have to. I don't think we should dwell on how poor we did. I think we should lean more on, Pepe was close with Bradley. Bradley's, a really good wrestler. Cooper Price surprised. If you're a coach, how do you get better? In a year like this year, you don't have control of everything like you usually do as a coach. And when a coach doesn't have control, it's very difficult to get the best out of your wrestlers. You look at poor Darren Testa, he only got 1 or 2 matches, and they still got, Zaboski out? How many did they get out? One?
They got Trey Zaboski.
Okay, they got one out. If that was 1998, you'd be like, well, they had a poor year. This year, they had a good year. They managed to wrestle only 2 matches, keep the damn team together, and get a kid out to qualify for a 16-man state tournament. I know it's only a super region, but in all reality, that super regional is the state tournament. It's the beginning. It's the first half. It's just different this year. It's split in 2 halves. So how do you look at the bright points as a coach, and you don't worry too much about what you don't have control of. And being, we had a lot of our kids only had 10 matches, and you look at District 4, they had 32. So, you wanted to get 32 matches for your kid, but you didn't have control of that. So, it's hard, especially when you're a really good coach and you pour a whole year into it every year. You know what I mean? That's one thing. A lot of coaches, they coach for 5 months, and then their season's over. Real coaches coach for 12 months, and their season never ends.
So there's 4 wrestlers from District 2 who advanced to the Super Regional in Class AA. In AAA, there's 15. Now, I think that's kind of impressive because there were only 26 from District 2 that got to the regional, and that's more than the 50% that got through. Normally, the percentage is maybe down around 20, 25%. So when you see that in AAA, there's got to be a lot of optimism around that. Even though they're going to super regionals and, like you just said, it's still the top 16 in the state, that's still pretty impressive that more than 50% of District 2 wrestlers are getting to the next stage.
Top 8 teams, 4 District 2 teams. That doesn't happen at AAA regionals. I don't know. You've done a lot of writing. You would know that. I don't know offhand, but if you look, top 8 teams, 4 of them were D2. That's impressive. At a AAA tournament in the Lehigh Valley, that's impressive. So what's the difference? Well, competition. I think our competition's getting better within the district. Or first of all, you want to go and look at the Lackawanna League. You had Delaware Valley, West Scranton, Abington Heights. These are 3 teams that could beat each other up on any night of the week. So, competition is all about being 30-0 will not do you anything. Being 25-5, you will be a better wrestler come state time. And, I learned, we talked about the Swingles before, I didn't realize before I was an assistant, volunteer with the Swingles, that if you don't get your wrestler a loss, you're not doing your job. So I think that has caught on in especially in AAA wrestling, that coaches realize now. I mean, you have Coach Vasello, you have Coach Maurer, you have Lou Delorio, you have all these guys that know that being undefeated, that don't mean nothing. That means that you as a coach are not getting your kid the best matches. Because I'm going to tell you what, you could be the best wrestler in the country, and on any given day, you could be beaten. That's something that makes wrestling original, And that's what's happening at AAA. Just out. I wish I was there to see, because if you ask me, historic weekend there. And again, no fans in the building, a little building. So did that help AAA? It may have, but it sure as heck didn't help AA. But and again, you had. And nothing against Lackawanna Trail, because Lackawanna Trail and Coach Yutz and Coach Bloom, class act. That is a great wrestling school. But they weren't even able to cross over this year. So, because the league, as far as I know, the league didn't want you crossing over because of COVID restrictions. So they wrestled a lot of teams, only had 5-6 kids. They never got their kids' matches till they got their regionals. And of course, the district tournament. Well, you don't want to get your matches at regionals, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to get it handed to you if that's the way it be. So, I mean, Trail was able to get one kid through, but 9 kids, that didn't have many matches. And again, no control of that. Coach Yutz, Coach Blum, no control. They had no control of that. Years prior, you had control of how many matches you could get your kids. This year, you didn't. But yeah, AAA, excellent. Fast Shower in the finals, all District 2 final at 2:15. Hunsinger, Henderson, those 2 boys are beasts. You had Booker going up a weight class because they're intelligent enough to know that, in a true second, you got to get those 3 kids out. I mean, you don't want Hunsinger or Henderson or Butker going home. I mean, they're 3 of the best kids in the state. You got to get them out. Buck is out. Henderson's out. Hunsinger's out. All District 2 final, 2:15. Fast Shower gets in. The lightweights pick it up. How many we get out?
15.
That's super. I mean, thank God we did, or we wouldn't have many going.
Yeah, no, I've gone to the AAA regional for more than a decade. I didn't go this year, but the biggest difference, looking on the outside of it, seems like there were less competitors in each bracket. But the percentages were still the same between District 11, 12, and 2. So I don't think that takes anything away from 15 advancing or anything like that. I still think it was a great accomplishment. Now, Super Regionals are coming up. Now, with the East region, you have in AA, you have District 2 and 4. Now they're pairing up with District 11. So you got that coming too. In AAA, they're adding District 1. When you look ahead to Super Regionals, what are you kind of expecting from District 2?
It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. Anytime you're going up against, 11, 1, it's going to be brutal. I mean, in all reality, you just have to look at it as the state tournament. It's split up. It's in a different venue, but it's a 16-man bracket right now. It's the state tournament. Just like, no matter how many things COVID changed, in my perspective, for me, it hasn't changed much. I mean, it's changed, but it's still a 16-man tournament. So anybody can get beat in the first round. I mean, so of those 16, usually we'll medal a lot. Of those 16, sometimes we'll medal 12. I mean, that seems to be the norm. I mean, me and Sean have been going since for a long time now. And if you send 16, of those 16, if you get 10 medalers, that's pretty good. So let's hope we send 10 of them to the state tournament. In AA, I hate to say it, but I only want to really put my cards on right now is, and I shouldn't really say that because I don't know, but I guess the one that I would say has the best chance would be Pepe. That kid from Scranton Prep, the heavyweight, Snipes, or
Max Snipes.
I'll tell you what, he got a gash in his eye in that one match. I watched him. Marty was over there, Marty Flynn. He's great, got a lot of great colors, super, to listen to talk to. And I just listened to him. He had a conversation with the referee. His kid was getting patched up. He just stuck the kid after there was a controversial call, and then went out and stuck his kid. Did he pin the kid in the third place match too? Well, I know he won.
Right,
but
that's the bottom line.
Okay, so that kid's legitimately good. So who knows? And Cooper Price is on a roll, And then who else do we have? We have Schneider. It's gonna be tough. It's not going to be easy, but yeah. So altogether, 17 and another 4. 21,
15 and 4. So a total of 19.
19 of those 19. Let's definitely get 10 or 11 through. I think that would be great if we only get 4 or 5. But what am I expecting? Who knows? It's the state tournament. Anybody can beat. I've seen. There's been Mikowskis and there's been Eachises and Kemmerers and, who knows? Maybe Zaboski can medal for Crestwood. I heard through some pretty good sources that Roos is Kemmerer's in the room up there. Mm. So, you got Joe Kemmerer in the room. That's probably why Zaboski is going to the state tournament, or super regional state tournament.
That's a pretty good name to have in your room. And you mentioned Rusa. He's right down the road in Kings.
Yeah. So. Well, Crestwood's that's my alma mater. I was coached, Rich Testa, unbelievable coach, great coach. Not just a great coach, but a great leader. And then, of course, now Darren up there and the kids that they put out. First of all, I grew up watching Gary Siegel. I lived in Dorrance, out there, in the middle of nowhere for a while back in the 70s. And I remember getting picked up and watch Gary Siegel. And then from there, at Crestwood's got a great program, great history, and they've been coaching good wrestling for a long time. And they've had, they've had their ups and downs like every other school, but I'll tell you what, you go and look at some of the people on their Wall of Fame, and there's some nice names there.
One last thing I just want to touch on here. Many years ago, when I first met you, we're talking maybe 15 years ago, you were doing an audio broadcast, and you archived all the audio and everything. Nowadays, podcasts are enormous. You ever think podcasts and audio broadcasts would get so big like this? When you were doing that,
I figured I was ahead of everybody. Yeah, I really do. I don't know if that's maybe an arrogant sense, but yeah, I figured I envisioned that. It wasn't just me, but I had a real good friend in school. His name was Chris Cole, a fabulous wrestler. He kind of turned me on to the idea, and I was like, wow, that'd be pretty neat doing that, And then even with the webcast now, all the webcasts, if I had Facebook to run a webcast, 15, 20 years ago, I don't know. I've been running webcast every week. It was great to do it. And then, of course, I got to doing the audio for Valley West for Curry, because Curry was at Valley West at the time, and I felt privileged to be able be able to go down. And I asked, I went through the school board. I talked to Sandy McKay and everything. And allow you to do this. I did my first one. I did through a phone with a little headphone on, and then they captured the audio was absolutely terrible. And that was, when George first went to Valley West, so I'm not sure what the year was. But yeah, we started doing that. And, I started the website, wvcd2.com. That was in 2000. 2001 was our first champion, Gary Mikowski from Nanticoke. I remember, I think I told you this story prior to going on. I was in club box. I mean, I didn't even have credentials yet. Later we found out how, to put an NT up to get the credentials. So Mikowski had won, and they allowed people to come down with their cameras, like parents, to take pictures. So I got on the floor acting like I went down to take pictures, and I snuck over to Mikowski and I got an interview with him. And then, of course, I don't even know how I put it online because, that was 2001. Things have changed so much since then. But that's how I all got involved in it. But it's just been a fun ride, and I've got to see a lot of, football I really don't follow as much anymore. But high school wrestling, I wrestled with my friend. I said, Chris Cole, me and him wrestled. We were going to Bloomsburg wrestling camp at, I think, around 12. So I've been involved in wrestling since 12, and I'm working on 53 here. So I've been around a little bit, and I just, before we end, I usually, the biggest thing for me is District 2 has to realize, and maybe parents, not District 2, but parents have to realize, wrestling is a different sport. It's not like basketball. It's not like football. It's a different breed of person. And to succeed and actually get on a podium in Hershey and be a wrestler, you have to be part of a wrestling family. Because that's how the energy ball begins. You got to be a part of a wrestling family. It's not a 5-month sport. It's a 12-month sport. And that doesn't mean you can't do track and field, and it just means you can do track and field, but you can't get away from, you can get away for wrestling for a couple weeks, a month. But believe me, there's somebody training out there. There's 8 kids out there training every day, all day. When they go home, their parents are feeding them the right nutrition. All right. Maybe dad has them bale hay a little bit, because if you want to do the stats and you want to see how many kids from the suburban areas or from rural areas that are on the podium, believe me, it's a lot, because it's a culture. It's not just a sport. It's a culture. And until we realize we have to be, part of the wrestling family, we're never going to step to that next level. And that's the thing I've found out over the last, 20 some years or 30 years, some years. And like I said, I've learned along the way. Coach Swingle Sr. has taught me a lot about wrestling that I never really knew existed. The point of, if you as a human being don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to succeed in wrestling. It's
all mental.
90% is. We're all human beings. We all have, the same, not experience, but we're all the same body structure. We're all the same weight. It's all about the kid that wants it more, feels better about himself, and it's important to him. If wrestling's not important to you, you're not going to succeed. Football could not be important to you. You might be just going through the motions to so dad gets to see you run out on the football field. But you could still win a championship. They could still hang that medal around your neck if you're not good in football, because there's a lot of other guys to back you up. Doesn't happen like that in wrestling. When it comes down to it, it's an individual sport that points are tallied from how good you do, not your team does. So, I've been around a lot of good coaches, the Hughes's, Matty Giampietro. What a coach he was. I followed them there for a couple of years, right around Woodall's, and man, you want to talk about those guys. That team Matty would get a fire in his eyes before a match as a coach. And if you don't think those kids were feeding off that, you're wrong, because they'd go out there and just steamroll you. See, and they were it was a great, wrestling family. At the time, Pittston had the ball rolling. They had the energy. They were the team. They had some battles with Berwick there. Oh, boy, and then they battled with Delaware Valley. Delaware Valley's always been good. It's been a pleasure doing this with you, Dave. Not really many people ask me to talk because, well, first of all, I kind of speak my mind, and that's not a good thing all the time. But I think I got through this one without ruffling anybody's feathers that much anyway.
It was fun, Frank, so thanks for talking with us.
Oh, thank you, and good luck with with the podcast. I'm glad that you're covering all the sports, because there's a lot of sports out there that don't get, like swimming and volleyball, and that don't get any print similar to wrestling, and it's nice to see you being able to do something like that for the youth.
We're trying.
Yep.
So hopefully it goes well. Thanks again.
Yep.
That'll do it for this week's episode of NEPA SportsXtra. Be sure to join us next week as we recap the District 2 Swimming Championships and the Super Regional Wrestling Tournaments. Until then, I am Dave Rosengrant.